What's up guys, Emperor John Kill 3D Gaming here with another video, and it's been a couple weeks and I've seen more and more information come out about the Resident Evil reboot. Now, I wasn't going to initially talk about it until I got a little bit more information, but by seeing the cast and seeing some screenshots and hearing where the story and how it's going to be portrayed, you would think, oh, another failed video game adaptation immediately. Now, that could be the case, or this could be the redeeming video game movie besides Sonic the Hedgehog, because Sonic the Hedgehog was the first great video game movie in a long time, despite what the Sega cult may tell you. You know, ignore them. Their opinions don't matter when it comes to the Sonic movie. But Resident Evil could have the potential to being the second best video game movie. And how? I'm going to show you right now. Check out these screenshots. We're going to look at a couple more in a little bit, but I wanted to talk about this first one. This looks ripped straight out of the Resident Evil 2 remake. Now, if they're going to take inspiration from the remake's telling of the story, that's really no problem, because the remake already did a good job of telling us a retelling of Resident Evil 2. But by my understanding, this movie is going to be telling us the events of the first two games. So my only theory, and I'm going to have a couple theories when we also get into some screenshots later on, a couple more that are really good. I mean, just look at this image. This is clearly described as zombies, you know, ravaging in front of the RPD after, you could tell this is after Leon and Claire have probably gotten into the police station. This is an exact rip from that, and it was surprising. I was shocked. Now, my thoughts are, I do have some concerns. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just going to be heads over heels. But compared to the shitty 6 Resident Evil Paul W.S. Anderson films that some people actually defend, and some people actually say that, oh, they're glad the George Romero script didn't get made. Yeah, you can tell that those aren't true fans of the game, because after seeing some videos and even reading the George Romero script myself personally that's on the internet, I can honestly say, despite some changes, it was more faithful to the first game than all 6 movies that Paul W.S. Anderson made combined. Anyway, let's get back into what I'm thinking, how this could play out. I think most of the movie will take place in the Resident Evil 2 storyline, but to fill out flashbacks or to fill out some story, I think we're going to see the Resident Evil Mansion events told simultaneously. Now, will that make it disjointed? I don't think so, because think about it. What made those games very long? The puzzles, the puzzle solving. And in a movie, you really can't do puzzle solving. So, I think if we're doing Resident Evil 2, let's say, here's an example. Leon and Claire are searching throughout the police station. That could be the first setup in the film. You know, set up the classic way, set up the film the way the classic RE2 starts. But then, to tell stories of Claire searching for her brother, we can get flashbacks from Chris's point of view, and he can tell what happened at the mansion. Jill could also be telling her perspective, because we know that the cast so far consists of Leon, Claire, Jill, Chris, Wesker, Rebecca Chambers, I believe. No, not Rebecca Chambers. Yeah, Rebecca Chambers, Ada Wong, and William Birkin. So at least you have the key players of RE1 and 2. That's already fine and dandy. You already have the key players in motion. But how the story could progress, I just feel that most of it will take place in RE2, and we could use Resident Evil 1 to help flesh out RE2's events, because that's basically what it is. You could almost treat this as setting up Resident Evil 2 as the first film, and setting up the mansion events as like the prequel. Because we already have Resident Evil 0, but if you think about it, Resident Evil 1 is a prequel to what happens in the city when the outbreak happens. Because as much as we love the first game, it was really just a big setup to Resident Evil 2, and Resident Evil 2 is what really solidified Resident Evil truly to us this day. I mean, why do you think they've remade it? Now, the second photo here from Twitter shows the Kendo gun shop, which looks damn near identical to the Kendo gun shop. Now, the newer reboots of the games gave the city more of a big city type feel, like New York-esque, Los Angeles type city feel. Where in the original games it was almost like a small town city. It was a town city. Now, I don't mind if they go with that. I don't mind if they scale back the city to make it more like, because first it's described as a town in the games, in the original games, then it's described as a city. So I would say make it a very medium city. Don't make it too big or too small. Just make it fair sized enough to show these locations in spots that we recognize. Now, the one thing that had me going, the first time I saw anything of this reboot after the casting was shown, they showed filming on Twitter. A Twitter scene was leaked out, and then now it's become public for people to see. That you see the trucker scene. You see the truck scene barreling down the street. And I can guarantee that this scene is probably where I keep getting the fucking names confused. Claire and Leon are in the car heading to the RPD, and this truck hits them. This movie looks like it's recreating all those moments. You already have perfect set pieces lined up for the filmmakers to go with. Now, of course, a video game movie is going to have changes, and I can feel Resident Evil, to have a wider audience, some things might have to be changed and explained, but what we're seeing is, if you take away the puzzles, which obviously you're going to have to do, you can't put puzzles in a film. If you show the events and use the highlights from the game, like, I wonder if Mr. X is going to be in the movie. That's another thing that we don't know. Because if this is so close to RE2 and William Birkin is in it, I guarantee we'll probably see William Birkin inject himself with the G-Virus. He might be the antagonist throughout the film. That could be a good thing. We could see flashbacks of Claire. Fuck me, Freddy. Why do I keep saying Claire when I'm talking about RE1? Probably because I just recently streamed all of RE1 for all of October and Halloween. But when Chris and Jill, when we get into their perspectives of the story, we could see them fighting the Tyrant at the mansion. That would be a nice way to tie in the Tyrant, to show the BOW progression of Mr. X, the Nemesis, if they can eventually get to that. If this movie is good enough and successful enough to get us to Nemesis, which would be great. Now, all I'm saying though is go into this. You can't go into Resident Evil with an award-winning Academy mindset here, or movie snobs that want it to be perfect. No. This movie, I can tell, is gonna bring in the feel of the game, hell, even the campiness of the game, through either the dialogue, the action, some of the scenes. If they can just get the overall feel of what RE is about, along with putting in the most famous moments within the video game, you know, I don't mind them adding in a little bit of filler to flesh out the story. And hell, I wouldn't mind seeing Chris pop up in Raccoon City, even though we know he's not there. Jill most likely, because Jill we can possibly see in Raccoon City, because this is the events that is so close to there. Now, should they be mixing the two games together? Yes and no. But if they're gonna make this a long film, like this would have to be almost a 2.5 hour film to almost 3, which would be insane for a video game movie. But what we're seeing is, what's been being put out is, this film looks like it's trying to not only please the fans of the originals, but also please the fans that are now getting into Resident Evil. And I can see why they're using moments from like the recent remakes in this film. It's easy to identify, most people understand it, and most people can spot it, be like, wow, I just played that not long ago. Anyway, I feel that this Resident Evil movie will turn out to be a fun horror action romp. I think that's how it's going to be. It's going to have, this time around, they know that they need to have the balance of horror and action, because you can't just make it a straight up horror. You know there's going to be some action if there's BOWs involved, because BOWs, yes, they'll be scary in design, but seeing them in action, you're going to see them done in a more action sense, which is fine. I wouldn't mind seeing the big battles take place. I wouldn't mind seeing William Birkin fight Mr. X, or Nemesis fight William Birkin like they did in the Resident Evil comics. It would be really cool to see. So anyway, that's my thoughts on this Resident Evil movie reboot coming out. Tell me what you guys think. Is it a good idea? Do you like what you see? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, favorite, and I'll catch you all next time.